And then what'd he say?
Koalas
And then
are
what you do?
sleep.
Ooh, girl, I would have died.
It is the only food that koalas eat. They have no natural predator.
No way. Stop it. Oh my.
The word marsupial is from the
I
Latin
know.
marsupium.
Yeah. What?
Reading
Oh,
is
I'm just making some milkshakes. Milkshake?
paws with claws adapted for climbing in the country of Australia.
Watch your show on any TV in your house with Iris, the new HD multi-room DVR from Rev TV. Start watching in one room and pick up right where you left off in another. Call to get Iris in your house today.
Fort Charlotte MP Andre Rollins resigns as PLP whip. We talked to him about his political future today. A Grand Bahama plane crash claims 4 lives. Plus, Stellar Waste to Energy speaks on that controversial letter of intent, and 2 men in court on murder charges. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and MB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight. Last week, during debate on the controversial constitutional referendum bills, Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins said he was prepared to resign his position as party whip after expressing difficulty with some of the bills. Well, Prime Minister Perry Christie revealed in the House of Assembly this afternoon that Fort Charlotte's Rollins resigned as party whip today.
When you take positions that are directed as a part of personal exchanges for a whip, then you make your position untenable with respect to that position. He understood that. He understood it from the day he met with us. He volunteered it. And so therefore, I'm satisfied, Mr. Speaker, that he did the right thing, and I accept it.
The Prime Minister was wrapping up debate on the amendments. Earlier today, Rollins and Marco City MP Greg Moss got into it with a cabinet minister who raised questions about the political future of MPs who opposed the bills. Paige McCartney has details.
After Member of Parliament from Marathon Jerome Fitzgerald's comments in the House of Assembly today that any member of the House of Assembly that does not support this gender equality issue would have a difficult time seeking re-election, those members of the House who believe that the comments were directed toward them said this issue has to be disassociated with politics. During his contribution, Fitzgerald said, "You're either for or against gender equality. You can't be half pregnant." Calling those MPs who raised concern over certain components of the bills naive, Fitzgerald said this is a historic moment in the Bahamas, and if you want to be on the wrong side of history, you will vote against these bills.
There should not be one single dissenting vote in this House on any of these bills, Mr. Speaker. Not one. Now, there may be a Lone Ranger or two, Mr. Speaker. There may be. There may be a Lone Ranger or two, and that's just what they will be, Mr. Speaker, a Lone Ranger or two who may vote against one or two of these bills, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, should that happen, Mr. Speaker, I don't see how that person or individual will ever be able to run for elected office in this country again. I just don't see it, Mr. Speaker. Either you support equality for men and women under our Constitution and our laws, or you don't.
Although Fitzgerald didn't name anyone, Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins and Marco City MP Greg Moss both took exception to the comments.
If he feels so strongly, treat the public with a degree of respect and courtesy, and speak to matters pertaining to the issues, and he knows what they are, that have been raised repeatedly by the press that he refuses to answer.
Do you believe that your stance and your position on this matter is going to jeopardize your political future?
See, my point is this. I don't have a problem speaking out on matters that I know exist in the public domain. But when I do so, don't make it appear as though I'm doing so solely because of personal political ambition. That's nonsense. Because if that's the case, I could question why you say one thing privately and say another thing publicly.
If someone's political future falls into a state of doubt because he speaks his mind, then our democracy falls into a state of doubt as we expand it, or as we make efforts to expand it. That makes absolutely no sense. I don't personalize politics. I try my best not to. And so the personal comments, I sift those out. Where they amount to misrepresentations, I respond to them. Short of that, I leave them to themselves.
It appeared during last week's heated debate in the House of Assembly that there was not unanimity on the governing side on this gender equality issue. When asked about the internal party tension, Moss and Rollins said the discord should be expected.
This is about democracy. My position is I would rather that these matters are ventilated well in advance of taking it to the public. Because I could argue that I think it's in my party's best interest to get it right here in this place before we take it to the public, because we stand to lose much more if we take it to the public and they overwhelmingly reject it. So am I not doing my duty as a representative of the people and also as a member of the Progressive Liberal Party?
Where the disagreement is the view that I have and some other people have, that there are persons who inadvertently or intentionally are attempting to piggyback a gay agenda on a gender equality issue. And I don't see anything unpatriotic or otherwise about disentangling that type of entanglement and saying let's deal with the issues that we're supposed to be dealing with and let's not bring other issues which will destabilize our country into the debate.
As for their political futures, both indicated that they are not intimidated by today's comments. As it stands, they will continue to pursue their political careers.
Whenever you do or fail to do something for personal gain, something political, for personal gain or for fear of personal loss, you're corrupt. What I mean by that is this: persons should not come into the House and worry about their political future. Persons should come into the House and worry about discharging their duty to the country. I am confident that the Bahamian people will make right determinations, good judgments on who should represent them. I have no concerns whatsoever about my standing in my constituency and that once I run again I will be elected.
Hubert Ingram is so correct and apropos in what he says, or has said numerous times in the past. I am prepared to serve as long as the Bahamian people will have me. Truer words by a Bahamian politician were never spoken. And when Mr. Ingram's time was done, Mr. Ingram voluntarily walked off the scene.
Moss added that he's comfortable with whatever ramifications come as a result of the decisions he makes, and both men reiterated that they are not against gender equality. Reporting for MB12, I'm Paige McCartney.
In other news, it took rescue crews several hours to get to the wreckage of a plane crash that claimed the lives of 4 people this morning. Police confirming the plane was headed to Freeport when it ditched about 5 miles outside of the city into shallow waters. Kyle Joaquin has the details.
Police said it was just after 10 this morning that the twin-engine Cessna headed for Freeport from Florida carrying 4 men on board crashed into waters off of Queens Cove, killing all 4 passengers. The twin-engine Cessna 340 aircraft was traveling from Ormond Beach, Florida when it crashed into waters off Queens Cove. In Parliament today, Transport and Aviation Minister Glenys Hannah Martin announced that the plane ditched about 5 miles outside Freeport, Grand Bahama, killing everyone on board. Chairman of Basra Grand Bahama, Justin Snisky, says when they got the call, they quickly sprung into action.
We immediately launched rescue boats to the scene. The rescue boats are comprised of Basra personnel along with Royal Bahamas Defense Force and Royal Bahamas Marine Patrol. They arrived on scene. The plane, they arrived in the area. Were unable to locate the plane at the time. Air traffic control had a Good Sam aircraft inbound that they diverted to the area, which directed our rescue vessels to the area.
Now, it took salvage crews several hours before they could get to the wreckage because of low tide. In the meantime, the U.S. Coast Guard, we understand, sent a helicopter to search and report to the Royal Bahamas Police Force and Basra what the crew was seeing from the air. Snisky says when they finally got a visual of the site, it was clear that all 4 men on board had perished.
Due to the continuing tide ebbing, they were unable to do a recovery effort at the time, at which time they came back to the landing zone here, and we regrouped to try to figure out how best to continue on with our recovery efforts. A few different scenarios came up. We also had a helo from Clearwater, came down to assist. They went on board. They hovered over to confirm what they could, but due to the condition of the aircraft, which was severely broken up, they were unable to assist us at that time.
Snisky says after that it was time to recover the bodies.
We had a skid, which we deployed our rescue personnel, which they walked about a mile in the 6 inches water, went down with the skids, and we were able to do a recovery of four persons on board.
At the moment, there is no official ID on the victims. The plane, we understand, is registered to AquaSun Investments in Ormond Beach, Florida. Our news team contacted that office but was told there was no comment on the crash at this time. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
After much controversy over the letter of intent to develop a waste-to-energy plant in New Providence, spokesperson for Stellar Waste-to-Energy Bahamas, J.P. Michelson, says the company still plans to move ahead with its studies to develop the plant regardless of political interference. Simone Davis reports.
Michelson said there is a misconception about the letter of intent and what it entails. He said the reported figure of $650 million it'll cost to complete the plant is incorrect because they will not know the actual number until 3 studies are completed within the next few months.
I keep hearing that $650 million number, which is wrong. I mean, we won't even know what the actual number is until we've done these studies, so I don't know what the big hoopla was all about.
Okay, and so are you moving ahead with the studies?
Of course we are. We can't do anything else until we have the results. As a matter of fact, we've already done FEED 1. We financed that in-house, which gave us clear indication that this is a viable project, that whatever MSW is sitting at the dump can be used and will be used. So we know that we can do 75 megawatts out of what is there, continuous net output. So it would be a shame if we don't continue those studies.
Deputy Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis told our news team today that there is no deal on the table between the government and Stellar Energy, and he doesn't recognize the letter of intent. Michelson confirmed that there is no deal because they were asked to do field studies which are not paid for or financed by the government of the Bahamas, so the deal is not necessary. He added that the plan to build a $650 million waste-to-energy plant is not included in the letter of intent.
But the government hasn't asked us to build a $650 million waste-to-energy plant. It's not in the LOI. The document that we had clearly states that we were asked to do FEED studies. End the story, regardless of who signed it.
The letter of intent indicates in the power purchase agreement that the project developer intends to sell the produced electricity output to the Bahamas Electricity Corporation. It also stated that if BEC fails to proceed, then Stellar Energy is entitled to compensation to be agreed. Michelson said he plans to meet with BEC Chairman Leslie Miller to discuss details on the developments of Stellar and BEC. He said field studies could take up to 5 to 6 months to complete. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.